A lot of discussion about gun control, especially given what just happened at Ingram High School here in Seattle and what the students are asking for, even though it doesn't line up with the facts whatsoever, with regard to this new gun law that has been passed down in Oregon that makes no sense whatsoever, and especially with regards to what's happening in New York. Joining us now on the Genuine Auto Glass studio line to discuss this crazy law out of New York is the founder of the New York State Jewish Gun Club, Tzvi Waldman. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. So let me ask you this. Here's how I understand the law, and you correct me if I'm wrong on it. Basically, it bans guns from any place of worship. That means synagogues, churches, and mosques, and that includes your armed security you have to protect you. I don't understand the rationale behind that.
Neither do I. The ban goes even a step further. Not only the law states house of worship, it also states religious observation. So I wear a kippah. Does that mean religious observation? If I'm home and someone is saying grace before a meal, is that religious observation? This law is vague and it's discriminatory. If I wouldn't be religious, this law would not matter to me. And it's not. It takes even a step further. Even an armed guard who is trained and licensed and hired privately by the house of worship, you're still not allowed to carry a gun. It's ridiculous.
There's no way this thing is constitutional, so is it being appealed to higher courts? What's the status with it right now?
So the lawsuit that I'm involved with is in the Southern District of New York. We put in for a temporary restraining order that got denied. We had our preliminary injunction hearing, and we're waiting for the judge to give us a ruling. And so far, the judge has been stalling. We can't do anything. We're kind of a limbo. Like, if he says no, meaning if he's not going to grant the preliminary injunction, then we're just going to appeal it. But he's just sitting on it, and I don't know what's so complicated to make a simple decision, either yes or no. You know what I mean? It violates the First Amendment, it violates the Second Amendment, and the 14th Amendment, because, as I said, religious observation is very, very vague, and people in the community are genuinely scared. A lot of people, like, trained and prepared and are doing the right thing. And now, if they go into synagogue with their firearm, they are a felon. If they engage in any religious observation, technically, according to the law, they could be arrested. And these type of laws are laws we have to be cognizant about, and we have to fight, because it's these vague laws like this that can turn into tyranny. Like, I don't want to bring it up, but like during the 1930s, the Germans passed all these laws to protect people. These same laws ended up, the parties took advantage of it to create a situation where the Jews were oppressed. And everything was done under the color of law. And the same thing over here. This law is vague. Religious observation should not be there.
We're talking with Tzvi Waldman, who's the founder of the New York State Jewish Gun Club. And it's not like all these synagogues said, okay, we're getting rid of our security for the weekends, because that would be insane, especially given the rise in anti-Semitism in New York, the rise in hate crimes in New York against other religious groups. It's not like they all said that. So what are the penalties that theoretically all these religious institutions are facing from this ridiculous law?
It's a felony charge. And then, once you have a felony charge, your right to have a firearm goes away. So you're stuck.
Unbelievable. So let me ask you this. My question is, there's nothing more. We proved this in Seattle. So years ago, we had these problems at the Jewish cemeteries here. And what we did was we said, okay, if the city's not going to do anything about it, we're going to send armed former members of the IDF to go guard the cemetery against the drug addicts and other people that were defacing the thing. Well, that's when all of a sudden the city took notice and decided to do something about it. There's nothing more they hate than armed Jews. So my question is, when's there's going to be a huge rally or something where a whole bunch of people show up and say, we're not putting up with this nonsense anymore, and make a big stink about it? I mean, it seems like the Jewish community in New York, religious, non-religious, is more united than it's been in a while, given what just happened with Lee Zeldin.
Maybe this is something we need to arrange, but I can tell you right now there is a lot of defiance in this law. It's a sticky topic because of the legalities, but people do what they have to do. And anybody that thinks now is a good time to take advantage of a house of worship, I'll tell you, you are mistaken.
Yeah. And I think this is something that across the Jewish spectrum, there's different political ideology, and it usually goes the more observant you are religiously, the more conservative you trend politically. But something you will find in any synagogue is a lot of security, even those very, very far on the left, especially for the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, you're going to find that. It's not like people are just going to give up and go, well, the law says we can't do this, so I guess we can't bring our gun today. I mean, I know plenty of people carrying synagogue. I'm one of them.
Right. When it comes to security, it doesn't really matter where you are on the political spectrum. Like in Jewish law, life is the most valuable thing, and protecting life is sacred. So no matter which area on the spectrum you are in terms of your religious observation, it's important to protect ourselves, and especially when you see what happens in Israel and how effective it is. The Israeli culture is very, very cutthroat. They see a problem, they have a solution, they implement it, they fix it. And they take security very, very serious, and there's no beating around the bush about it. And they have the solution, and everybody knows what the solution is.
Okay. Yeah, I like what you're talking about. I like what you're saying, and I wish a lot more people are being receptive to it. Have you heard anything from the governor's office on this? Because this is her crazy law, and now she's going to be in power for the next 4 years. So has she said anything to you guys about this?
So in one of her press conferences, somebody asked her specifically about the house of worship, and her answer was, I don't feel safe being in the synagogue knowing somebody next to me has a firearm. That was her rationale. And letting people with firearms into synagogue is unsafe, as if the criminal is going to ask permission to come in. And she basically said, yeah, we're going to fight in the court. We have good lawyers. So I say bring it on. I also have top lawyers. I have my confidence. I think the law is on my side over here, and we're going to win it. We just need people to be aware how ridiculous this thing is and have the judge give a ruling sooner than later, because justice delayed is justice denied.
Founder of the New York State Jewish Gun Club, Tzvi Waldman. Tzvi, if people want to follow your efforts, if they want to follow the fight, what's the best way for them to do so?
I would say go on NYS Jewish Gun Club and subscribe. If people want to donate to chip in to help this cause, you can go to NYS Jewish Gun Club /donate. It would be greatly appreciated, every single penny.
Excellent. We wish you a lot of luck in your fight. I got a ton of relatives, family, and friends in New York, and of course I visit there all the time to visit all of them, and I hope that the person sitting next to me is armed, because that way I feel safer. Tzvi Waldman, founder of the New York State Jewish Gun Club, thank you so much for being with us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.